Today we're looking at a fairly recent video from Sean. Sean here is criticizing the Young Turks for their Ryan Coogler video, and throughout his 30-minute video, he really only has two problems with their video. Firstly, they use the terms arrest and instead of detained, and that they label this incident a fault of racism. I'm not going to blame the Young Turks for using the terms arrest or detain, as most people use those terms already interchangeably. However, I think Sean's criticism is fair for calling them out for suggesting this incident was a fault of racism, without any evidence to support their reasoning. However, I'm not going to complain about that for over 10 minutes, so we're going to just end it here. The problem is that this video is about downplaying the incident and finding it reasonable and acceptable for the teller to believe that Coogler was attempting to rob the bank. And by Sean's reasoning, this fell under three reasons.
People that go to banks and look like bank robbers and then get treated with a little bit of suspicion of bank robbery because they used a handwritten note, were basically in disguise and had a car outside with the engine running. Nothing suspicious about that.
Without recognizing what was written on the note, we could say it was suspicious. However, we don't have to play ignorant. We know what's written on the note. I would like to withdraw $12,000 cash from my checking account. Please do the money count somewhere else. I'd like to be discreet. What's written on the note has to be suspicious in and of itself to become suspicious. I think it's a bit ridiculous by Sean just to say that writing on a note alone is suspicious. Saying writing on a note is suspicious strips away any of the context from the situation and makes it look like Coogler's fault. But here's the thing. Context always matters. I don't think someone attempting to draw cash from, as the note said, their own account is a reasonable suspicion to believe that they are attempting to rob the bank. For the sake of ease, instead of dancing around what could have led the teller to believe that Coogler was a robber, let's just see what she believes in. All we can do is just look at the 911 call to the police, and we can figure that one out.
I just told my manager I didn't feel comfortable, so he told me to call police while he, I guess, stalled for
What
a
is
minute.
what is on the note, ma'am?
It just says I want to withdraw $12,000. Just be discreet.
Is this an actual customer, or are they trying to rob the bank?
They had a debit card and he inserted it. He gave me a California ID, but I was like, okay. I was like, how do you want the cash back? And he's like, just look at the note.
And he had no weapons, correct?
Not that I know of. He just has on black sunshades and a black hat.
Is he a black male, white male?
He's a black male. And every time I ask him like a question, he's like, look at the note.
So, okay.
But he inserted his debit card, and then I asked for his ID. He handed me his ID as a California ID. But I didn't look at his name because I'm just like so shook up. Like, I don't know what he's trying to do. So I just told him, give me one moment. You know, I have to get my manager.
Okay, so none of his information was even verified. Okay. He might just want to be discreet, but I have police en route.
Yeah, I mean, he might. It just seemed weird.
So what do we know now? Well, we know that Coogler inserted his debit card, gave the teller his ID. She did not verify that it was his account, nor did she look at the name of the ID. We also learned that the car Sean brings up is irrelevant, as she expresses no knowledge of the vehicle. If we watch the police body cam footage, we get most of this confirmed by Coogler, with the additional fact that he also entered his PIN.
She said, yeah, I put my own car in, put my own PIN in. She asked to see my ID. I gave it to her. Yeah. And she goes in the back.
If Sean would tell his audience this information, it's a lot harder to get to the conclusion that it was Coogler's fault, rather than clearly the fault of the teller. Even the dispatch thinks that Coogler was just trying to be discreet. Young Turks can jump to conclusions. They do that all the time. However, you can't flip the script and decide that since the Turks were against what happened to Coogler, that he somehow now deserves what happened to him. Based on the evidence, the fault is clearly that of the teller. Not only that, but Sean also goes beyond himself and thinks not only it's Coogler's fault, but that he's also committing a crime.
The thing. I don't believe his story at all on why he was taking out $12,000. The idea that he has a woman working in his home that is making $12,000 but prefers to be paid in cash, and that's all on the up and up, doesn't make any sense. Obviously, we're talking about potentially an illegal immigrant, or we're talking about this money going to some other direction. Maybe he's paying somebody off, maybe something.
As it is seen, Sean doesn't know what crime it could be, but still thinks a crime has been committed, only for the fact that Coogler is paying his assistant $12,000 in cash. Sean is once again acting similar to the Young Turks, having no evidence for a claim, but coming to the conclusion nonetheless. Anyways, guys, I don't want to make this any longer than it has to be. It's clear that Sean is making assertions and claims even though his basis for his evidence is limited and also wrong. Wrapping this up, just like to say, thanks for watching.